I'm told it is 9:15, so I'm going to start. Although I was looking for the sheriff, I didn't see Sean Becker come in yet. I hope he'll be here real soon. He's coming? Okay, very good. Yeah, very good. So I'm Dick Bartosh. Thank you very much for coming. We're going to have speakers Ryan McMillan, Andy Simon, Sean Becker, and Ken Hansen, and we're going to talk about the drug court here in Wood County. Don't hesitate to indicate successes, challenges, failures, whatever. I'd like this to be as candid and revealing as can be. So I hope it'll be worthwhile. We are soliciting rewards in the back and the Welcome Center there until next Sunday, November 17th. So if you are inclined to provide rewards for the program, for people who graduate from the program in the drug court, please feel welcome to contribute that. Whether it's a gift card or something else, there are some examples out there right now that I think will be well received. We did this a couple of years ago. Good morning. Hi, Sharon. Thank you very much for coming. So we did this a couple of years ago, and some of the gifts were very impressive, and they were very well received, and Ryan might talk more about that. So, addiction. What is it? I'll just read quickly from the CDC, CDC.org. Yeah, Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Thank you. Addiction is a complex condition of brain disease that is manifested by compulsive substance use despite harmful consequences. People with addiction, whether it's severe substance use disorder, have an intense focus on using certain substances such as alcohol or drugs to the point that it takes over their life. They keep using alcohol or a drug even when they know it will cause problems. Yet a number of effective treatments are available, and people can recover from addiction and lead normal, productive lives. Addictions can be affected by alcohol, marijuana, PCP, LSD, inhalants such as paint thinners and glue, opioid, painkillers, codeine, oxycodone, and heroin, sedatives, hypnotics, anxiolytics, medicines for anxiety such as tranquilizers, cocaine, methamphetamine, other stimulants, and tobacco. So that was maybe more than you needed to know there, but it's a real issue, and it doesn't seem like it's getting less of a problem. It seems like it's being more of a problem. A few statistics very quickly. Opioid epidemic has killed 3,800 people in Wisconsin between 2014 and 2018. 3,800 people from opioid overdoses. In 2018, a total of 1,452 methamphetamine cases were reported in the state of Wisconsin at the crime lab, an increase of more than 450% since 2008. 2008 to 2018, a 450% increase in total methamphetamine cases in Wisconsin. As far as heroin cases are concerned in Wisconsin, in 2018 there were 1,055. So even that's 3 cases per day, about 3 cases per day of issues with heroin, at least that number for methamphetamine. And then there has been a big increase in the use of methamphetamine in Wisconsin since 2008. 22,000 people aged 12 years old or older in Wisconsin have used methamphetamine in the years 2016 and 2017. So the statistics are pretty grim, pretty dreadful to think of the effect the drugs have on the lives of people. Treatment for drug addiction in Wisconsin. Most people who need treatment do not get it in Wisconsin. About 10% of the 397,000 people with addictions from 2016 to 2017 got treatment. Only 10% of 397,000 people got treatment. Addiction is treatable. I'll put this up in the back, and I'll post a few things here that I've dug out that I think are helpful. And drug addiction is preventable. The ELCA, Evangelical Lutheran Church of America, ELCA.org. Ryan's got that up on here. It's some very valuable resources are available. We went on there and searched for addiction. And the one I want to highlight is the Rural Synod Fights Addiction. And just a couple of things, I'm not going to read all of this, but it's a real concern in rural areas. Congregations and their leaders should be careful, you can't read that, of two tendencies. The first is judgmental and moralistic view of people who are addicted. Churches need to talk about addictions the same way they talk about any other disease. The second, congregations and their leaders need to be careful not to feed codependent or enabling behavior. Risman, the author, said that some volunteers may be overly active at church to avoid dealing with addicted family members at home. Church members and pastors are very forgiving too quickly, he said. They offer absolution without repentance. Congregations should be careful not to shame families or addicts, he cautioned, but should also avoid enabling addiction by providing money or excuses. So I thought it was a very good article, very well worth reading, and I hope that you'll spend some time looking at resources on our GLCWR website. So the drug court in Wood County, I'm very happy that Sheriff Sean Becker is here. I'm going to ask Ryan to speak first for about 10 minutes or so, and then Sheriff, and then Andy, and then Ken. So please don't hesitate to ask questions. And here's a handheld mic if you want.
Okay, sure.
Thank you very much.
Welcome everyone. I brought some of my brochures that we hand out for drug court, so this is some of the background information. So, all right. So yeah, I don't know how many of you guys know that there's a drug court here in Boone County, a treatment court, but it's been in operation since 2005. Started as a pilot program back then. Very limited budget. We're just trying to figure out how things. It was maybe the 8th or 9th treatment court in the state at the time. And then in 2007, they got a grant from the state. That's when I got hired back then, and increased the budget for the program. We could take in more people at the time. Back then, it was mainly marijuana, some pill charges that would get referred to drug court. It's changed greatly in the last few years with all the meth and heroin first, now meth, mainly for addictions when they come into drug court. So then they get, I'll start with the referral process. So when they start drug court, they get referred because they have a felony charge of some type. It's not always a drug charge, but they get referred by their attorney, usually, sometimes their probation agent, and they get referred to drug court. So there's already identified problems there with the person. And then once they get referred, we do assessments on them. We do a risk and need assessment. We do a full AODA assessment to see if they're appropriate for the program. Because drug courts, all the trainings I go to, the drug court's going to take the worst of the community. A lot of failed treatments, a lot of prior arrests before they even get to drug court. So we do the assessments with them, then if they're deemed appropriate by the drug court team, they start drug court. And then what happens during that time, when they're in the program, it's a year long at least, usually 15 months, 16 months to graduate the program. But while they're in the program, drug testing 2-3 times a week. They go and see Judge Wolf on Mondays in drug court, and they get to talk to Judge Wolf about how the week's gone, what they've been doing. Also, there's any sanctions, and that's or rewards during drug court on Mondays, and they do that throughout the program. There's different phases as they go through the program, so that they can see that they're making advances in their treatment and their support group meetings, and just get their lives back in order in general. So I'm going to take a moment just right now because this hit real close to home for me last night. My daughter was hit by a drunk driver about 8 o'clock last night. We were at the ER until about 12:30. So I do this as a job on a day-to-day basis, trying to help people not have addiction. But it hit real close to home last night for me. When a drunk driver hit Avery, that she's okay, bumps and bruises and concussion, but kind of ties back to what all of us do every day on the front lines, trying to keep the community safe, have better citizens in the community through everything that we do. So I'm a little off today. I had all my spiel ready to go last night, and definitely my mind is elsewhere. So kind of back to drug court. So once they're in the program, we work with them as an individual. We really get into their trauma history, their background, family history. We really treat the person as a person once they're in the program, not just the criminal charges or what their other reputation is in the community. We really look at them as a person, and try to help them through their problems so they can really heal. Because there's been a ton of research out there with addiction, and it's healing the brain. So where does all that addiction come from? Mainly back to trauma that was experienced or neglect back when they were kids, younger in life. Some of it is adults also, but they find ways to ease the pain, and drugs do a pretty good job of that. It goes right into the brain, helps them escape. Then they become dependent on the drugs, and it's worse and worse and worse as they go along. So drug court helps to stop and heal that brain with the treatment and support and accountability that drug court provides on a day-to-day basis. And it's hard work. When they're in drug court, lots of requirements, lots of check-ins, lots of accountability, lots of skill building that we work on them with. Just keeping a calendar for the first time, self-care, showing up, showering every day, going to bed on time, just really a lot of basic skills that they have not worked on or haven't worked on in a long time. So, and then as they go through drug court, they get their charges referred. Hopefully they're going well. This is for someone that would graduate. They're going through the program. They're getting what they need. They're making their changes. They end up graduating the program after they meet all the requirements and move through all the 4 phases. And we have a graduation ceremony at the end where they get a certificate. We have ice cream cakes that have been donated for many years from the Dairy Queen here in town, which is great. And then the legal end of things, they get their felony drug charge dismissed. So that's a huge incentive for them not to be a felon the rest of their lives. Plus they've gotten all the treatment and recovery going in their lives so that they can hopefully carry that on once they graduate drug court. If they end up failing out of drug court and getting terminated, that's the word we use in drug court, they end up failing out of drug court, they go back to sentencing at that time, they get sentenced on that felony that was referred at the beginning of drug court. So that's kind of the 2 paths out of drug court at this time. So we do accept people back into drug court, even if they failed out or if they graduated, it doesn't matter. The whole team is very trained on addiction and knows that it continues on in their lives. They have to work hard at maintaining a healthy lifestyle and recovery and long as they after they graduate drug court. So yeah.
What's the
Success rate, here in Wood County, it is about 55%. We dipped down pretty hard after the heroin came into town several years ago. Really caught us all off guard. We're ready for it, so we made a lot of changes in treatment and supervision in the program and some other things to help help with the heroin addiction that was much worse than many more needs than we had seen prior to that with alcohol, marijuana, and pills maybe. So yeah, it's come up in the last few years. Like this year, I think we had, I did turn off some of my stats. We've had 18 graduations this year and 11 terminations up to this point. So, and generally we have about 20 to 30 participants in the program at any time that we're working with, so, yeah. Any other questions?
Is that 55% success rate, meaning they graduated?
Yeah, they graduated. Yep.
What about 10
years down the road, do you keep track of them?
We do collect data. I don't have any of those numbers right now, but we do collect that for recidivism. We're still following up with all that. What the I can give you some of the national numbers because there's 3,316 treatment courts in the nation across the whole United States. 75% of drug court graduates who remain arrest-free. So after they graduate, they don't get rearrested. And it's the big one, but $27 saved on average for every dollar invested in treatment courts. Because treatment courts have been challenged quite a bit over the years on their effectiveness, being soft on crime and all those things that got thrown at treatment courts for a long time. So they did a lot of research over the last probably 10 years to prove that it does work. And in the process of doing all that research, they found out what really works in treatment courts. So that, right now we have drug court treatment standards that we have to follow on what works and is effective in our treatment court, the amount of treatment, the amount of time that they meet with the judge each week, UAs that we do each week. I mean, there's really a lot of research that's gone into treatment courts.
And is that funded by the county?
Some of our funding is from the county. The majority of it is through the TAD grant, which they got back in 2007. And at that time, the state thought these treatment courts would be a good idea, so they did a pilot grant back then in 2007 for 6 counties, and Wood County was lucky enough to get one back then. And it's grown. I think there was maybe 600,000 in the pot at that time. Now it's over 6 million. So it's shown its effectiveness, and the money's followed from the state. So yeah, our budget is from mainly the TAD grant, some county money, and then the participants also pay a participant fee as they go through the program. So they're accountable financially for their programming that they get. So, yeah.
We talked about having part of our facility available for AA or NA, you know, this
Yeah.
would probably be part of it. To have like a recreation area together, so
That's
that,
pro-social
yes,
recovery activities, sure.
would that be helpful?
I think so. I think the Methodist Church is where most of the NA meetings are in town, and I think it's pretty well over there from what I
Who would we
know.
talk to about that?
I'm not sure who would be. Probably, I don't know who's in charge in NA, or
Meets Friday nights, 7 o'clock.
the
NA.
NA, yeah. Yeah, I have all the meetings, I just don't know. Yeah, you'd probably be best to show up at a meeting and ask if there would be any potential for any of those kind of things. But yeah, any pro-social activities is very helpful. That's something we work on in their case plans and treatment as they go through drug court.
Right. Is there a mentorship in the process after they graduate?
Right now, no, there's no mentorship afterwards. They can continue on. I offer ongoing case management with them if they want to after they graduate, so they can come back and meet with me a month or 2 after they graduate. There is NA or AA that they've been going to, so hopefully they have a sponsor during that time and are connected with that group. Several years ago, we did have an alumni group that was going, but it kind of fizzled out. Something we're hoping to get going again maybe, because we've had so many graduates in the last 2 years. If there's a good group that still stop in and see me from time to time and let me know how things are going and call. And yeah, it's pretty cool how they stay connected to the program and people that help them out. So, but yeah, nothing formal right now. Yeah.
Do you know which surrounding counties have a program like this? Like Portage or Adams?
There's 83 treatment courts in the state. So, yeah, Portage does, Adams does, Wausau has drug and OWI. Clark County's kind of working on one maybe. The one judge counties are kind of tough because the judge has to be on board to get going with the treatment court, so it kind of starts and stops there. But But yeah, like I said, there's 83 treatment courts in the state. And when I say treatment courts, that's drug courts, veterans courts, mental health courts. I know Clare County has a women's only treatment court. So yeah, there's any kind of problem that there is, you can, if you have enough resources, you could run a treatment court for that. Or there's some juvenile treatment courts also in the state. So. Anything else?
I have found that Ryan is very approachable, so if there's anything you think of later, don't hesitate to check with him. And now, Sheriff, if you'd like to speak a few minutes, I'd really like to hear your perspective, the overall, how it's going, and what would you like to see different? Is it getting better or worse? Good to see you. Thanks very much for coming.
Well, thanks, Dick, for having us come today. Call me Sean, all right? I'm not into the title stuff or everything, so just please, I prefer you call me Sean, okay? First and foremost, Ryan's doing an outstanding job. If you think that he has a job that's 40 hours a week, everybody that's part of drug court are contacting him 24 hours a day, because they're accountable. And Ryan's been doing just an outstanding job with drug court.
Why Sean knows that is that we have a drug court that meets each Monday at noon. Sean's on the drug court team. Andy was at one point. Yeah. So yeah, there's about 12, 15 of us that are on the drug court team. Treatment, probation, law enforcement, Judge Wolf, DA, public defenders, Gary Krishak, attorney in the community, probation. So there's about 12, 15 of us that get together every Monday, staff, how they're doing. And then we figure out rewards and sanctions. So, and I'm the only paid person. Everyone else volunteers their time to come and be a part of this. So it's great. So, all right.
No, again, thank you, Ryan. He's been doing an outstanding job. Going back, he had brought up that Wood County was one of the first drug courts in the state. And Ed Zappa, anybody, I don't know if you know him, but he's he's a retired judge, really good friend of mine. He kind of piloted this whole program because he saw the need for helping people. I'm a huge proponent of mental health, huge, because I look at, especially with our jail, the inmates that are in jail, I look at that as an opportunity to help people, all right? Granted, I'm not soft on crime, I want to make that very clear, but the people that are in custody, they are going to be with us for a while. If we don't help them while they're in custody, what's going to happen? They're going to get released, right? They're going to go back out in the community, our community, and probably do the same thing, right? And then they're going to be back with us. That recidivism rate is huge. All right, so I look at, as your sheriff, as running the jail as an opportunity to really make a big impact in our community. Because the folks that are making mistakes here, we can help them out because, you know why? They have to spend some time with us, all right? And it's not fun being in jail, bottom line, it's not. But if we take, those challenges for them and provide them some mental health, some counseling, at some point, they have to, well, they don't have to, but they will at least sit down with some counselors, work on, their life, because they're going to get released. And it's just not that individual. It's okay, once they get released, they're going to either provide for a family, right? And also they're going to go back to work somewhere, we hope, right? But if we don't provide that foundation in our jail for those folks, it's just going to keep, that cycle is going to keep going. So one of the biggest things that we've been doing since I took office is focusing on Lake Drug Court. We're very, very fortunate that we have had drug court since 2005, but expanding that, all right? Counseling services, partnering with Midstate. We have a technical college here in town that they're willing to come in, which I couldn't believe that we were doing it in the past. I didn't know that. that Midstate had a program where they would come into jails to help folks out that they'll get their GED or just work on life skills. Right, so we're partnering with them. We're also doing Three Bridges. It's a counseling service with Aspirus that is all grant funded, where they're coming into the jail and helping folks out with addiction issues. All right. I look at our jail as a huge opportunity. If you want to make a big impact in our community, right, you help the folks that are in custody because, you know what? They've got time, right? Why not provide them at least with an opportunity to fix themselves or help themselves, because it's just not that individual. You look at one inmate that is in our custody, when they get released, they provide for a family, all right? Most likely they do. They work in the community, right? And if they're not, who becomes a victim? We all do, right? Because if they're addicted to, whether it's heroin, meth, alcohol, you know, any of that stuff, not working, right? How do they support the habit? You steal from us, right? So it's a huge, I look at it as an opportunity, you know, and that's going to continue as we move forward here with the Sheriff's Department, is the more we can focus on the folks that have made the mistakes, you know, within our community, help them out. It's not being solved by crime. I really think it's an opportunity to make our whole community better, you know, in my opinion. And that's where, you know, I go back to, you know, again, Ryan's doing an awesome job. I mean, if you look at, you know, he's got a 40-hour-a-week job that he's getting paid for, well, I think it's probably double that. You know, and thank you for Ryan for being so willing to do that, because there's folks out there that aren't willing to give that extra. But that vision is very similar, because I think this is how we can make a really big impact, especially on, you know, small communities like what we have here. I mean, unfortunately, addiction really drives a lot of people, and then they come to us, unfortunately. Now, another thing I'll bring up is people fail. You know, they still have to be willing to accept help, even in jail. So some folks, that's just the way of life for them. But if we fix or help one person, that impact in our community is huge, right? It is huge. So, and the savings, as Ryan brought up, is huge. It costs about $28 a day to have an inmate in your jail. Right? We have about 110 people in our jail right now. So do the math. Then we have 100 out in 2 other jails, which is probably another topic that I could go on forever about. But then we contract with 2 other jails in the state, Pack and Adams, to house inmates from our community. I think it's a big problem, because it costs even more. You know, it's going to continue to cost more. But the whole point of what I'm saying is investing in mental health in programs such as drug court is going to save us money, right? A lot of money, okay? Because we're helping people, and that's the number one thing. Number 2, if you save money and people aren't coming to our facility, our jail, makes us all better, right? But having 100 people being in 2 other jails costs us about $1.6 million a year, right? And one of my goals is just to provide information to our county board about, you know, the facts, right? Is it worth housing people from our community out of county that aren't going to get the services that we're going to invest in? No, it's not. Because the folks that are in Adams and Wapaka County aren't going to get the treatment options that we have here in Will County. So do we need a new facility? Sure. You know, I mean, if you think about it, we built our jail in late 80s. Any 24-hour run facility, how long does it last? You know, I like to compare it to an airport. We all travel, you can see, you know, things are being updated. Or schools, you know, it's just something that we're going to have to look at moving forward, and what I'm going to do, or what we're going to do, is just provide the county board with accurate information, and then they can decide. Building a new facility, is that going to fix everything? No, it's not, and it's going to be expensive too, I'll tell you right now. But the need is there, but it's going to be up to the county board. But anyway, that's my little spiel. Ryan is doing an outstanding job. These types of programs will have a huge impact on us as we move forward. Right? Any questions? Oh, nice. I got off easy.
Thank you so much. So Andy Simon is an investigative sergeant with county's sheriff's department. So Andy's got some experience with the drug court also years ago.
Yeah, not as much anymore. No, that's going to be kind of short. I'll just kind of cover a little bit of what we see from the front line on the investigations side of it. So a lot of people look at drug issues that people suffer with. This is something that I looked at this, even working as a deputy sheriff or a police officer early in my career. You look at people as they have a drug addiction issue. They should stop using drugs. That should fix the problem. And a lot of the community has that opinion. And I even had an opinion dealing with individuals that have drug addiction issues early on in my career, getting drug arrests, and it's just like it's your own choice. You use drugs. I don't know if you're just a victim of this. You're the victim of your situation, and you should just stop using. And after the experiences that I've had in the program, and especially now working as an investigator, when I was initially assigned to investigations, I was assigned to the Central Wisconsin Drug Task Force, and also to work on the drug court team. I learned a lot about drug court, learned a lot about drug addiction, people using drugs, what motivates people to use drugs, and why they use drugs. And what drug court really does a good job with is going way further upstream into where the problems manifest and why people use drugs to begin with. And I think what's really key, and that really is something that hasn't really been talked about yet, is just in regards to a lot of mental health people are struggling with, maybe things that went on in their childhood or traumas in their life that they had or experienced that they are self-medicating later on in life. And a lot of these people don't even realize they're doing this for these reasons, so they can't even identify that, well, it's because maybe I had some type of physical or sexual assault or abuse when I was a child and I use drugs now. They don't recognize that, they don't see that, and the drug court team does a really good job identifying and really guiding them on the path to try to fix those problems so that when they're out in the community, they're not self-medicating themselves later on. And that's like a lot of the key thing. And then just getting the foundation of, life, just what it is to be able to live an everyday life. A lot of people think, well, they need to go out and get a job. Actually, when they're in drug court initially, we don't want them to have a job because their job is to be in drug court. Their job is to just do the basic, essential things they need to do to get through their life every day. And that's the key factors of that. That's kind of just that piece that I learned, something that I guess I can share with you guys in regards to something that I picked up on through becoming involved with the program and working as an investigator. And the other point that Sean talked about this too is who's the victim of drug addiction. So when somebody's addicted to drugs, who's the real victim in the community? And we are the victims, the society as a whole. Just to kind of share a startling number with you, probably about 4 or 5 years ago, I was working on a drug overdose death investigation that resulted in a reckless homicide charge. And part of that investigation was to go out and determine where the person had purchased the drugs they bought that eventually led to their death that day. And it was at the Shopko parking lot in Wisconsin Rapids. And I worked with the corporate office of Shopko to obtain some video surveillance from that day at Shopko. And I was talking with the guy that I was talking with about it, and while I was waiting for that to be processed and taken care of, he was just sharing with me his frustration with the drug issues that we had in our community and the significant amount of loss that Shopko had sustained that previous year to that. Does anybody think they can guess a number as to what Shopko lost? I know Shopko's not with us anymore here in Rapids, and maybe this is part of it. Does anybody know, just take a guess on how much you think they had in lost value property that was stolen from the Wisconsin Rapids Shopko store? Probably about 2015 would have been the year. Has anybody got a number you want to throw out there? In 1 year? Take some guesses.
10,000.
10,000. Anybody else?
Hundreds of
50.
thousands.
In excess of 100,000, just for one location. And that number kind of shocked me, right? And that's just one Shopko, one location in Wisconsin Rapids. If you look at our community as a whole, and Walmart and all the other stores that we have, and look at how much loss we could potentially have, we're paying higher prices for everything that we buy because of these type of things that are going on in our community. So it's important that we all recognize that and look at, it's not just the drug user that's affected. It's not just their families that are affected. It's our community as a whole that are affected by this issue. And it really takes a whole community approach. Law enforcement can't deal with it. The court system can't deal with it themselves. It's everybody. The community as a whole, everybody recognizing these issues that are going on in the community and trying to point people towards help. The drug court team is really good because it's comprised of so many different entities. We're all coming at it from different angles. When I was on the team, my responsibility and the role of the team was as an investigator. I would go to the meetings on Monday and learn about all the participants and what they're doing, and then during the rest of the week or during the rest of my work time, I would be monitoring those participants, watching to see if those participants had any law enforcement contacts, so we can hold them accountable, reporting that back to the team, and then randomly doing home visits or working with probation and parole on, well, we think we might have somebody that's slipping a little bit. Maybe we need to give them some extra attention. And, of course, they don't like it when law enforcement stops by to visit, but we're just holding them accountable to the program. We want to see them succeed. I've seen several people succeed in the program, and I've seen some that haven't. And they, in my opinion, they just weren't ready. They're not at that stage. But we're giving them all the tools that we possibly can in the program. I will echo what Sean said as far as Ryan. He's a very valuable asset to the program, and he's the glue that holds all of those team members together and kind of keeps the program moving and works with all the participants. And it's a huge commitment on his part, and he's doing a great job. So that's all I really have. Can I answer any questions in regards to just the investigative side of it?
In terms of prevention or recognizing the potential for addiction, is there on average, like a threshold in terms of adverse childhood experiences, that once you reach a certain number, that, you're really prone to potentially addiction of some kind?
Yeah, that's a good question maybe for Ryan to answer more. I just recognize that a lot of it's there.
You're talking about the ACEs?
Right, so is it like 3, 4, or 5 where, it becomes more
Not that I've
likely?
seen correlated like that.
Okay.
They have done a ton of research on the ACEs, on correlating earlier death with all risky behavior that goes untreated after this ACEs that they've experienced that. I haven't seen any.
Do you want to explain?
Sure, ACEs, yes, ACEs. Adverse childhood experiences. So back in the late 80s or so, these doctors and treatment professionals, they started realizing or wondering why people just kind of cycle back to the system. We're giving them some treatment, helping them out, but it was all surface kind of stuff. So they started researching, and it ultimately led to this it's called ACEs, the Adverse Childhood Experiences, but there's a 10-question survey that you can do with your person that you're trying to help, and it's all on neglect, trauma, sexual trauma, physical trauma. Even if domestic violence is in there, there's a question in there about that. There's some addiction questions in there. If your parents were addicted, if they were divorced, if they went to prison. So there's 10 questions. And then the one that really sticks out in my head is if you have 6 or more, you're going to die 20 years earlier. That's one of the sticks in my head right now. I haven't seen any with directly with 3, you're more prone to having an addiction in your life than not.
And just to kind of piggyback on that, so it's part of my job, and now that I'm doing drug court stuff, I deal with people on a day-to-day basis that are committing crimes all the time in our community. And when I interview these people and I talk to them about their motivations and why they do it, this is such a common trait among anybody that is involved in criminal activity. A lot of time, it falls back on a lot of this kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's generational.
Yeah.
It really is. Grandpa, mom and dad, aunt and uncle, it was just their normal. Having just experiences this traumatic lifestyle all the way through their childhood.
So very, very important to get with working with human services too, at individuals that are struggling at a young age, to get in intervention and get in things, and those are really, really important things to have.
So when they graduate, these people that have these childhood traumas,
Yep.
then they can no longer have contact with their family members?
No, not necessarily. It depends. I mean, every situation is just a little bit different. There's certain times in drug court, I think what you're referencing is where we pull people from communicating with their family if they're using or enabling or whatever. I'll let Ryan speak a little more on that.
So, I do the ACE questionnaire with them when they come into drug court. They didn't even think it was trauma. It was their reality. They didn't see it as trauma. They didn't know that it was damaging their brain for the last 18 years, 20 years, 30 years. They don't even see it as that. So it's a real eye-opening when I go through the questionnaire with them, and I have some brain scans and some more statistics to share with them. And it's a huge eye-opener on why they need to really get engaged in their treatment. They really need to eliminate risky people, risky places, all those kind of things that we're going to help them out with. But they've got to stop traumatizing their brain, not just with the drugs, but with the risky lifestyle. And that is hard work, as it is. They're normal up to that point. We want them to change it. It takes time.
There are some times where they got to break away from family contacts or
Yes.
friends. I mean,
Yep.
That's one of the hardest parts about the program is, they might be able to do that for a few days, but then when, Ryan gets
Some of it.
weekend and Ryan's gone, and it's some Saturday and Sunday, or, the holidays.
Christmas
or whatever,
comes around.
now they're back to,
Yeah.
that's all they know.
Yeah, that's why we get AA going. Sometimes they've, alienated some parts of their healthy friends or family members, and we try to get them reconnected with those people. Once you start questioning how many friends do you have, and you start defining it differently for them, they're like, I don't have any friends. I have none. They're not risky.
And sometimes even family.
Yeah.
The people they live with, sometimes, we've had parents that they shouldn't be associating with because they're.
Excuse me, we are recording this. If you don't speak it, the mic
I'm
is
sorry.
not.
I apologize for that. A lot of times, like I said before, a lot of times it's family too that they can't communicate with either, or they shouldn't be communicating with for a period of time, just because they're part of the problem. But we encourage them to put themselves as number one. So that's a key factor in this. It's tough for somebody to walk away from a family member, but if they need to do that to protect themselves from, the steady decline that they're on, it's a healthier option for them to do that at this time. Doesn't mean they can't reconnect down the road when they put up some barriers and some limitations and some ground rules, but, sometimes the beginning parts of the program. Any questions for me, more?
Is the police force, doing, are they able to do anything to stop the drug dealers from providing the addicts?
Yeah, we definitely work really hard on that. That's definitely one of our biggest focuses is really trying to stop the sources of supply of drugs coming into the community. You can go arrest a lot of the local dealers are users themselves. So, we see in the program a lot that people are coming through. It's commonly somebody that's using methamphetamine or heroin, they're also selling it to support their addiction. We really try law enforcement to focus on the trafficking of drugs coming into the area, which are more of your sources of supply. It's very difficult. We do the best we can. I think we throw a lot of effort towards that. The struggle that we run into is we take one person off that's arrested and thrown in prison, and then another one immediately pops up and can fill that gap. It's just a continuous evolution. That's going to happen. That's been kind of been the war on drugs for law enforcement for a lot of years, and I don't anticipate that will go away. We just need to make sure that we're constantly evolving to the new trends and what's coming in and where things are coming from, and we're working as hard as we can to try to slow the bleeding as much as possible, if you will. So, good question.
One thing that I want to elaborate on is the victims, who the victims are. I was reading yesterday some information about this topic, and one thing in Chippewa County is that the demand for foster care has just gone through the roof because of the need for foster care of children, some very little children. And it's just heartbreaking to think of what this is doing to families. So I assume there's a tip hotline. Is it just a non-emergency number for the sheriff's department that we call if we had suspicion?
Yeah, if you have information that you want to provide,
dispatcher can provide whatever information that you have that, you know, can help us out. So if you want to remain anonymous, we always, you know, push Crime Stoppers. It's out there. It's easy. You can talk to the dispatcher and give your information. And yeah.
We have a neighbor who I thought might be very suspicious, because once in a while there'd be a dozen cars and then a couple different cars and back and forth different cars that I never saw before. That's another story. So Ken Hansen is a retired pastor and also a member at Grace here, and has also had some experience with the background with the drug court. So thank you very much, Ken.
I'd like to mention that Ryan has been great, and for a while there was a hiatus where he wasn't there, and it made a big difference in the quality, I think, and the activity that we had. And Ryan's a member of Grace, and that makes a big difference. And Grace has made a big difference. Something that I used to do, I was a citizen member, and I haven't been on it for about 4 years, and happened to be a pastor as well. But I would go up and down the streets looking for presents for the graduates, and now at one time Grace had a Christmas tree out, and you took the possibility of giving a gift, which is, you know, there were some things that just really surprised me. And one is that when someone does something very well during their evaluation from the court team, they were congratulated by the judge, and everybody in the courtroom would clap. And you'd think, my goodness, a clap, what difference does that make? But it makes a huge difference for people to be affirmed on what they did that particular week. And it was a huge difference. And sometimes they get a cake apart. And you think, holy cow, but there's an affirmation which they don't get otherwise. And also, I wanted to mention that I joined the court as a citizen member, not as a pastor, but someone to just be there, because I didn't have and don't have the experience of being with them in communication every day or every week, because these are, like he mentioned, the people that are on the court are those that are the parole officers, the police, the judge, et cetera, and they are there all the time. But I've been able to do some things that have been helpful. Before I tell you one thing, wanted to mention that one of the graduates was 55 years old. I've told this story before, but when they graduate, they get a certificate of graduation, and it's in a frame, and then there's the party, as I said, with the cake and all of that. But she went over, and she had a tear coming down her eyes, and I went over to congratulate her, and she was holding this frame certificate. And she said to a friend, "This is the first time I've seen my full name written out." That is amazing, but that's the culture, you know, that's part of it. And I think it was about 5 years later, she died. And that was, you know, one of those things that really hits me. I'd like to also mention that in the sanctions that are held, there's these congratulations and the clapping and so on, but if they fail that particular week, or from the court team evaluating, they said, you screwed up here, you screwed up there, those are added up and they are listed, and there's a sanction, and sometimes in going up the track to graduation, I've written an article in the paper and talked about this quite a bit. I would make a parallel as a citizen of going to high school, and you go freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and you graduate in your senior year. But if you screw up, and the coach and the superintendent and the teachers and the people in social services there, you know, the student services and so on meet and say, there's some problems here, they might go from being a junior back to being a sophomore. Have to start over. I mean, that's the way the drug court works. You start and you go up or you go down. Now, so addiction is horrible, and I just wanted to say that I know of a young girl, the boy was, or the man was in jail in Wapaka, and she traveled every week. She was enamored with this fellow for a year, every week, taking presents, taking food, and so on. And she was just thrilled when he was released. He had said, I don't want to go to drug court. I don't want to go to drug court. He was released, and she was totally in love, and he gave that impression, and when he was released, he quit. He just dumped her. And she is still living with the consequences of that. And he's living with the consequences because he's got into trouble again and again, and keeps it quiet. These are the kind of stories that I've heard. And when I went into the drug court to begin with, before Judge Wolf, who was terrific, there was Judge Zappa that started it all, and he would say, you need new playthings on a new playground with new play friends. And did you get that things? Yeah, people. And so I thought that was something to remember, and as a pastor, that's been helpful to me in many ways. Another thing is what you were talking about, that sometimes pastors and sometimes courts and sometimes others are too lenient. This is a drug treatment court. It's not just a drug court, boom, it's a drug treatment court to get people in the AA, NA, get the help that they need. And one of the things about that was mentioned earlier was that sometimes the churches, sometimes the treatments, people, let things get done a little easier than should be. And it reminds me of an idea that I have heard, and that is someone comes home drunk, and the partner, the person throws up in bed, and it's a mess, and then the partner cleans it all up, makes it right, and then what happens is the person comes home again and throws up, and they clean it up. It's really enabling this behavior to continue rather than making the person face what they have done and do their own cleaning up in that respect. It can't be done by himself or herself, and that's where the drug court makes a big difference. And our drug court made a big difference in relationship to Portage County in getting one, because there's many counties that have come and visited ours and said, yes, we need this, and they had various people from their community come, and they said, we need this. One thing that I learned and am still learning and want to have a relationship with court in this, answering this question. When I first heard of oxycodone was with Brett Favre, that's a long time ago, and I thought that was no big deal. And then it's gotten worse and worse and worse and worse, and now it's one of the main ones. And now the big thing around the whole country is saying yes to recreational marijuana. And from my point of view, that's horrible from my point of view, because it just is a gateway into, well, alcohol's bad enough. Then there's this extra gateway, and there's going to be more and more of that type of thing. And we even know that from smoking to vaping and all that. I mean, come on, let's be realistic about this. And I'm from Colorado, and they were terrific, with that, and they're having bad consequences in Colorado. So anyway, from a pastor's point of view,
citizens' point of view.
Very good, thank you so much. That's all. So, yeah, right.
Just last thing, thanks for coming today, but drug court is open court every Monday at 1 o'clock. So if you guys want to come visit, it's in Branch 3 with Judge Wolf. Just show up before 1 o'clock and you can watch and see what goes on during drug court. So we kind of put a real picture of everything you've been hearing today from us. So, there you go.
Very good. Yeah, thank you all so much. I really appreciate that. And I think there's been some very good discussion, so realize the destructive behavior on the part of people that use the drugs. And I used to smoke. I know how hard it is to quit smoking. I was addicted to tobacco and nicotine. And all I could think of when I determined I wanted to quit smoking was I was thinking about that next cigarette. One more. I can have one more, justifying it and rationalizing. And it finally took a very concerted effort based on faith in a very loving and affirming God that I was able to quit it. And then I realized I want a whole day without smoking. And it was really a very important thing. So that wasn't a small deal. To me, it was a really big deal. And so I can't imagine these drugs that are addictive and really powerfully addictive that somebody could do it by themselves. I think with the support, the mental health issues that we face are just incredible. So thank you very much for coming. I hope this was helpful for you. If you have any thoughts or ideas, don't hesitate to let any of us know. If we can be some help and use for people, that's better. Anybody have any other thoughts?
Just a quick question. I came in a little late, so you might have already talked about this. But the things, the ideas to be able to give to the graduates, when is the termination for that?
Next week.
Next week?
We're collecting, thank you very much. We are collecting items to be used for rewards or for graduate gifts for the drug court through next week, Sunday the 17th. So if you want to gift cards, anything like that, you can elaborate on that.
Yep, that'd be great. Any kind of donations, that'd be great, because twice a year, so each week they put their name in the fishbowl, and then twice a year, usually around Christmas time, and then in the summer, around 4th of July, we do drawings to prizes. So there's some really good ideas out there. They need new pro-social, new healthy things to help them in their lives in their first department, or getting out and developing a new hobby, or all kinds of things. They really appreciate it.
One thought that we talked about is that don't just get a card from Quick Trip because they can buy beer.
Right.
Be sure it's a gas card from Quick Trip, something like that, or things other than destructive ideas. Ideas that could be turned into destructive.
Or they can trade them. I mean, they get very creative. So, yeah.
Okay. Anything else, anyone?